Good evening. Welcome to the Wendell Elamine James Show. Um, we have a guest here this evening, Mr. Jackie White. Uh, Mr. Jackie White. Uh, I've been knowing this man for quite a while. Welcome to the show, Mr. White.
Thank you for having me.
I want to ask you a few questions. And, this show is geared for lifers coming home from prison. We want to show society that we're not monsters. You know, we committed a crime, whatever the crime was. We went to prison for, we did our time. And while in prison, we did what I call the metamorphosis. We did the change.
Right.
We went to groups. We did certain things to prove to society that we are worthy coming home to our families, back to society, after whatever crime we committed. And we deserve another chance in society.
Right.
So that's what this show is really about. You know, we want to ask some few questions to you, Ms. White, because it's really an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you.
You know, how much time did you do?
I did 24 years.
24 years. And you, where'd you do your time?
Well, in several prisons, I basically made the circuit of all the Northern California prisons: Pelican Bay, Folsom, New Folsom, Old Folsom, DVI. You name it, I've been there.
So you had to do what you call the circuit
Yeah.
before you did the wake up to
Right,
find out what
right.
you needed to do to come back to society.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you, how long did it take for you to wake up?
Well, my it took me about 3 years to really start to look at myself. It took me that long because of the prisons that I started in. And as you know, we started in Pelican Bay together. And at that time, when we were incarcerated, when we went to Pelican Bay, it was just built. It was notorious, one of the dangerous prisons in the United States. And it took some time there for me to before I started to really look at myself. I was so busy trying to stay alive than to really work on my, bettering myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had a job of staying alive first and foremost.
Right.
So it took a few years until I went to a lower level prisons that had programs, and I started using the programs. Programs, self-help programs, anger management. All of these programs, they don't seem like, there was a time that I wasn't interested in them, but I come to find out that these programs are very important to reprogram a person who was antisocial. So in these programs, they teach you to be pro-social.
Okay.
And I started to learn, new behaviors and learn more about myself and what made me commit the crimes that I committed on society out there.
Let me ask you, what was your crime and what was your judgment?
Well, I had a first-degree murder, attempted robbery, and two attempted robberies, and two great bodily injuries. And my sentence was 25 to life, plus 17, meaning that I had a 25 to life to do, and I had a 17 years to do. And they ran them what they call bow-legged, separate. I had to do the 17 years first, and then start on my 25 to life.
How much time did you serve actually?
Actually, I served 24 years, 17 days, 4.5 hours. I got it down.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. When you went into the system, have you ever been to prison before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But you went into the system at a different time in your life. So
Exactly.
how was the time for you different this time from what it was the previous time you come to prison?
Well, the previous time when I went to prison, I I went to prison a couple of times. I had two numbers, and you know, being a determined sentence inmate, meaning that you know the judge give you a sentence and you know how much time you got to do. It really, you know, it was just about doing your time and getting out, and you know, ain't nothing changed. You never learned anything. Opposed to this 25 to life, that a life prisoner. See, we're a whole different breed of prisoner, a life prisoner. And this life sentence that I had, oh, it was really different, you know.
Let me ask you a question, Jackie. At what time during your incarceration did you decide to wake up and change your life, do something different for once in your life? Because you said you've been in prison before.
Right.
Okay,
right.
but at what time in your life did you decide to stop and wake up?
Well, you know, that's an easy question to answer. I was in Folsom Prison, New Folsom, and it was just built also. And I had to just look around. One day I looked around and I really had to face reality that who am I and what am I? What do I have to offer? You know, do I want to die in prison? And of course, the answer was no. I didn't want to die in prison. I wanted to change, and you know, I just got tired of being a nobody in society, you know. And that's when my change came, when I just really took a good look at myself.
Now you came to prison because you came to prison for murder.
For murder, right?
Okay, you came to prison for murder. So my understanding is that when we commit these crimes of taking somebody's life, we come to prison, and you know, we got people that's affected by that. We got the victim, we got the victim's family, we got our families affected by it. Society at whole is affected by it. But we need to, you know, to tell society, and society need to know that we temporarily went insane. When we took that person's life, we temporarily went insane, but we came back.
Right.
As we went into the system, we did what they call the metamorphosis. We started educating ourselves. We started doing better things because eventually one day we know we was going to get out. We got the possibility of parole. We don't have life without the possibility.
Right.
So we got a life with the possibility of parole. So sooner or later we were going to come home.
Right.
So we got to let society know that the person that the governor signed to release, that person that went in, he doesn't exist anymore. You know, the person that's home now, this is who we are now. So society needs to know, you know, and we need to tell society.
Right.
You know, because we never had a forum
Right.
that we can talk to society and let them know who we are. We're a different person that came home today.
Right.
So we need to let society know, and this is what we're here for. We're here to give you the opportunity to let your victim's family, let society know that you're remorseful for what you did.
Right.
You have you're gonna for the rest of your life you're gonna have to make amends what you
Right.
did. You know, that person never gonna come back. But you gotta let society know that I'm remorseful for what I did. I did that, and it's nothing I can do about it. If I can bring it back, I would do that today. But I can't, and from the day on, I have to make amends to the family, to society, the rest of my life. So let's speak on that a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that because society have a perception of lifers that, you know, they need to stay in prison and don't never, you know, throw away the key. They have a thing called a ripple effect. When my crime was committed, I didn't know that the amount of people that was affected by the bad choices that I made. There was a life taken, and there were so many people affected by that. Not only the victim's family, Mr. Gray's family, but his children and his grandchildren. The ripple effect affects the policemen, the paramedics that come and have to see the carnage that, you know, that I caused. I sit here today and I don't make any excuses. I take full responsibility for the crime that I committed. And I want society to know this, that these men and women that have committed these crimes, murder is the worst crime that you can commit. And when we commit these crimes, it not only affects this just a small array of people, but it affects society. It affects the people that's watching right now. And they might, well, how did it? Well, your taxes go up. You have to pay for my house, and you have to, you have to buy burglar alarms and all kinds of things that comes along with this crime that I committed. And you have them, I really can't express how much pain and carnage that I've caused. And today I'm remorseful for it. I know I can't bring Mr. Gray back. But what I can do, I can live my life in a way to pay tribute to him. When the governor signed off on my release, he signed off where he saw a man that came in as this person, but today he's this person. Why? Because of the programs that we went through. A rigorous program. These men and women that come out of prison, I want society to know that these men and women is not just somebody that there's, their number was up and now we boot them out. No, these men and women go through programs that reprogram them.
Let me ask you, okay, just for a moment here. You mentioned the programs. At what stage in your life did you start taking these programs serious? We go to NA,
Right,
AA in prison, and
Well,
we sit in the background, because it's a requirement from the Board of Prison Terms that you go to program. But we sit in these programs, we sit in the back and we kick it for a while. But at some point in life, it kicks in that you got to be part of these programs.
Right.
So you start doing not just for the Board of Prison Terms, you start doing it for yourself.
Well, for me, man, I just got tired. Like I said, I knew it was something better, and I really truly wanted to change. I didn't know how to. I had gotten so callous in my criminal behavior that I didn't know how to love people. I didn't know how to look at life, look at the sun today and the moon, and just enjoy it. I didn't know nothing about that. My life was based around criminal activity. So I knew it had to be something better than that. And that's when I started to take it serious. Mm-hmm. What makes me angry? What makes me commit a crime against a person that I don't know anything about? What makes me do that? And these programs, they work. They work. They teach you. I didn't know how to love because I didn't get that type of love when I was growing up. My father was killed when I was a young man. My family was destroyed because of his death. So I was raised by two teenagers. How do two teenagers raise another teenager? It just, and I didn't know that. I didn't know how to say, I'm sorry. I didn't know none of those things. But these programs teach you. They teach you and they program you and they mold you and help you be the real person that you truly are. So today, society, when they look at us today, I just wanna, say that these men and women that went through some programming that, hey, the average Joe citizen really don't know about.
Let me ask a question. You went to board. How many times did you appear in front of the Board of Prison Terms?
I appeared before the board 3 times. The first time they denied me 3 years. The second time I went when I did the 3 years. I went back and they granted me parole. Well, there's a process, a 150-day process that the governor has an option to, deny it or, well, long story short, they denied it. So
You say that they denied what you mean? The governor took your date?
The governor took my date.
Okay.
and that meant I had some more programming to do. You know, so he felt, and I agree with him. You know, I agree. At that time, I didn't agree because I wanted so bad to be home, but they saw something that needed correcting. I spent the next 18, 22 months correcting it, and went back before the panel again, the board members again, and they granted me again. This time, the governor he signed off on it. You know.
Okay, let me get into some more questions that we want the public to know. Today, opposed to you going into prison, when you went into prison, how do you feel about your crime?
Today, how do I feel?
No,
about
going into prison.
going into
How
prison?
do you feel about your crime?
I felt when I
Yeah,
went.
now mind you, you was a younger man, right? You was still bullheaded. You had a whole lot of things going on that wasn't
Yeah.
going on when you went to today. So when you went into prison, you was a different person
Right.
opposed to you now. So how did you feel about your crime then,
Well,
going into prison?
when I went into prison, I felt like they had railroaded me. I felt that you know, that society gave me a raw deal, and you know, I blamed it on everybody else. You know, I blamed my incarceration on everybody. You know,
So we gonna reverse that to now, how many years later?
24 years.
24 years later, you went through the metamorphosis. You went through all the training. You went to all the classes, self-help programs, NAAA, that you had to complete. You had to go through. And once you start NA, you can't stop. So you had to continue going to that. And you might have some stipulation now coming home from prison.
Right.
So what is your feeling now about your crime?
Well, my feeling about my crime is the court's got it right. I was found guilty. And even though that, let me just clarify this, even though my hands didn't pull the trigger or held the gun that killed Mr. Gray, my actions makes me just as guilty as if I did. And, you know, I take full responsibility for that today. And like I said, I'm sorry for it. I'm remorseful. I can't bring Mr. Gray back. That I can't do. But I can do this. I can come to places like this and be on this programs like this and inform the public how, because of that incident, it changed my life. You know, I'm sorry Mr. Gray had to lose his life for my life to begin. But today I'm a different man today. You know, I'm a man that can be your next door neighbor. I'm a man that you could hire me and I'll do the best that I could do. And I'm dependable. I know what loyalty is. I know what being a good citizen, something that I really wasn't in my vocabulary. So I know what that means today.
So we can say that you went to prison and you became a person today that you wasn't when you went to prison. I say a better man today than you was when you went to prison.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I speak on people going to prison because I'm an ex-lifer myself.
Right.
And I speak on people going to prison. And, you know, everybody that goes to prison with a life sentence with the possibility of parole, sooner or later they're going to come home. Right. And I applaud the lifers that come home. See, we don't go in front of the Board of Prison Terms on our first try after doing 25 years to life, and you got 25 years in, and they say, well, okay, you can go home now. That's not how it works. Right? We got to go through a process of being found suitable for parole. Right. So you can go to the front of the board once, twice, 20, 30 times. Right? If you don't have a right, they're not going to release you back to society because that signature that goes on that paper has to be theirs. Right. So we want society to know that when we go in front of the Board of Prison Terms, we made the complete change because we're going in front of people that do this for a living. They've heard all the tricks, all the con, all the drag, everything that you might want to hear, they've heard. Right. So when you go in front of them, if you don't have it right, that time that you go in front of the Board of Prison Terms, they're not going to grant you parole because they can see the between the little cracks that you know, you
And
still
they get
driving.
it right.
And they get it right.
And they get it right because, like you said, they saw it so much. I just like to say this real briefly, that the statistics for recidivism is 72% return back to prison. These are people with determinate sentence. Indeterminate people like us, lifers. Let's look at the statistics. I want society to see the statistics because the statistics don't lie. It's less than 1% of a lifer returning.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That tells you something. These men and women that, when that governor signs off, they put that signature on that piece of paper for your release. 9 out of 10, they get it right. They get it right. And these men and women won't return. We know how important. We want society to know how important our freedom is. And that, well, listen, I won't let nothing jeopardize this. You know, and God has blessed me to be reunited with my family. My marriage is being healed again. All the things that I destroyed when I was in that madness, man, God has allowed me to start correcting those things. And that's all we want, man, is another chance. We want society to just give us another chance. And when you give us that chance, man, we really listen. The simple things in life. I heard a baby cry the first day I was out. That's something I never heard for 24 years. And I'm saying, wow. People was annoyed on the bus, but hey, man, that was a good sound.
It's a good sound to hear the baby cry. Yeah.
To hear a baby cry.
Yeah. Well, I wanna thank you for being part of this show tonight.
Absolutely.
You know, I do this show because, as I state, society need to know that we committed a crime, whatever crime it was, go to prison for, but we're remorseful. You know, we have feelings. We just like the next person.
Right.
You know, we're not monsters. You know, and society need to know that we're not monsters. We did a terrible crime, sent us to prison. You know, but we need another opportunity to come back in society and let society know that we are remorseful for what we've done. You know, we ruined families. You know, we did some heinous things, but we need the opportunity to come back in society, be part of society, be part of our families. You know, allow our families to understand that we belong as part of this family. You know, fathers, you know, sons, siblings, we have the rightful spot in being part of this family. So we want to thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. And
allow you to come back and let society know that you're not the same person you went in. You know, and you know, we know that society has kind of like cast us lifers away. You know, we committed a crime. That's what we're supposed to be in prison for the rest of our life. Their loved one will never come back. You know, if I can turn back the hands of time, it'll be different. You know, I'm pretty sure if you can turn back the hands, it'll be different. But we can't do that.
We can't.
You know, that mistake happened. It was a crucial mistake in our life. So we have to, you know, pick up and move on and make better of the day from that rest of our lives. So we want to thank you, Mr. White, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
And, you know, you've been home. How long have you been home?
28 days.
You've been home 28 days. Today, 28 days.
Today,
Okay.
28 days.
So we want society to know for the rest of your life, you're going to make amends for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And trying to deter somebody from not doing what you did to take you into that madness. You know, you made it all the sickness throughout those years. You made it back to this side of the world, you know, and we want to wish you the very best in society, you know. So continue doing what you're doing. Pick your life up and have a good life, my brother. You know,
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the world.
Thank you.
So we want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. White for being part of this show this evening. And God willing, things going to pick up for you, and we're going to keep on doing what we do.